Of girls in information, communication and technology. Now, the commemoration is used to encourage more women to pursue a career in the ICT space. While girls tend to outperform boys, at least in school, in reading and writing skills, they continue to be underrepresented in science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And this results in a huge digital gender gap, so to speak. So why do gender disparities continue? And could it also be because fewer girls opt for fewer studies in this field? Well, to help us answer these questions and many other related issues, let's bring in Isabel Musakwa, who's an IT educator at Boston City campus, who joins us now via our video link. Isabel, great to chat to you. Thanks so much for making time for the AM report. Let's start with those questions I've already highlighted, but perhaps let me phrase it differently. How much work still needs to be done, insofar as you're concerned, to open up the ICT space specifically for girls?
Thank you, Ayanda, for having me. A lot still needs to be done, Ayanda. We need to start at the grassroots. We need to start at the foundation. We need to change the stereotype that has been attached to technological products, the technological sector, as well as the digital and skills training in our schools. We need to empower the girl and woman child to know that IT is not a male-dominated field. It is a field that is available to anyone who has the willingness and the desire to pursue it.
Yeah. You know, it's very difficult not to fall into stereotypes when you have these broad stroke conversations about how girls and boys respond to things. But from the trend, at least, I mean, what are you finding to still be the major hurdles, specifically for women who even have a remote interest in ICT, from entering into that sector?
I think we still have, there still needs to be an understanding in the industry, as well as in the education, the foundational education, as well as the tertiary institution. In the foundational, there needs to be that empowerment for girls to understand that IT is not just programming as people presume, and it's not just artificial intelligence as people presume. There needs to empower and make the knowledge available that ICT is so broad that anyone who is willing to take in, who might say, I'm not into coding, can take in a different path, but still be in the same space. And there's also need for the private companies to also embrace this and allow the women and the girl child to also be part of their teams. And for institutions, they can also help the girl child and the women to take up the space in the ICT through the provision of bursaries. For example, the Boston Education Trust provides bursaries to 20 Black South African women who want to pursue careers in the IT technology-related qualifications. So there still needs a lot that needs to be done to remove that stereotype, so that the gap between the male and the female in the technology industry is closed.
Yeah. Do you feel like days like this make a difference when we pause and mark International Day of Girls in ICT? I mean, do you walk away when the sun sets feeling like there's been at least a shift in the dial, or is it all just ceremonial as far as you're concerned?
No, it's not just ceremonial, Ayanda. I would say, yes, we still need to do a lot more to conscientize the girl child and the woman that this industry is open for business. It is open to everyone to come in. But as we hold this event year in, year out, we are reaching out to someone. We are reaching out to a girl child who right now is looked down upon STEM, or he is stereotyped STEM, as we said. But as we speak about it each and every time, we are removing that stereotype little by little. We will get there.
Yeah, you know, you speak about having this incremental effect. As you're speaking, I'm thinking in the African context, we have the problem of the digital divide, generally speaking. And for women, it becomes a digital divide compounded by the digital gender gap. It's almost this double whammy of problems. And I wonder whether, even as a continent, we're equipped enough to be able to deal with that extent of an issue.
Yes, we are still far, Ayanda. The digital divide in itself makes it so difficult for us to close the gap in the gender divide. But if you see that when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, a lot of institutions had to re-strategize their teaching and learning formats to go online so that they reach out to students even during the pandemic. So that is a positive that came in through the pandemic, because right now those who were digitally divided now have the opportunity to learn wherever they are. We still have challenges when it comes to data and infrastructure settings, but we are working towards that. The fact that a lot more institutions and even primary school institutions of learning are having to have lessons online. That is a new thing, and that is also an opportunity for us to bridge that gap in the digital divide as well as the gender divide.
Yeah, I wonder how much you feel things like representation have an impact on this, Isabel. I mean, I know it's important, for instance, to see people like you in certain spaces for you to imagine that you can achieve whatever goals they have achieved. When it comes to women in ICT, are you getting a sense that there's enough, at least, of women speaking out about the experience of being in the sector, therefore hopefully encouraging other girls to take on that career and follow in their path?
That is still lacking, Ayanda. That is still lacking a lot more. I think we need to reach out to the schools so that the girls will know that there is a career out there that is not so spoken about. And I think we need to have more than just commemorating this day, as you said. We need to have a lot more to reach out to the girls and women and to conscientize them of the fact that it's not just the STEM part of it is not defined in a way that it is in the ITC industry, because there is a business side in the ICT, there is a technological side, there is an engineering side. So we need to conscientize the women and girls to understand the field as it is, so that they will have the willingness and the passion to enter into it. But a lot more, as you said, Ayanda, still needs to be done.
Yeah. Speak to me about what happens when women finally do make it into the industry, though. Part of the unintended consequences is that if you do treat women with kid gloves or differently in your attempt to, let's say, gain some kind of balance, then you could inadvertently create more discrimination, because you create a perception that women are being given the easier route, so to speak. I mean, how do we protect against things like that, where we're encouraging girls to take up the subject, but we're also making it clear that that doesn't mean that they necessarily get different treatment in acquiring their qualifications?
Thank you, Ayanda. I think the private sector needs to play a very big role. They need to come up with a digital, diverse employee clientele, employee profile. Because when you bring in women into the IT teams, they should not have roles reserved for them. When I come into the IT team, I should just come in as a member of the IT team. My salary should not be different from my male counterparts. As I speak to you right now in South Africa, the women in ITC earn between 20 to 25% less than their male counterparts. So the private sector still has a lot to do in ensuring that this gender divide is closed, if not forgotten at all.
Yeah, sure. Such important discussions, and hopefully once again we get a sense that days like this actually do shift the dial in at least the landscape within the industry itself. Isabel Musakwa, yes, thanks very much indeed. IT educator at Boston City Campus. Appreciate your insights.